unfortunately at the moment we don't have a quorum, so we're going to take the items out of order and just talk about the things that don't need a vote. So we'll skip approval of the minutes for the moment. And I just want to report that we still have one vacancy on the commission, and I haven't heard from anybody recently. Sometimes I get emails to Beautification, people expressing interest. I haven't heard anything. So if you have any buddies that you think might be interested, do suggest applying, because it would be great to get our numbers back up to 9. We did have a moment there earlier in the year when we were 9.
I was thinking on that, one thing that could be useful is, I don't know, if we or somebody puts together almost like a description of it, like what the time commitment is, what we do, very simple. Like
it's on the website.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, well, all the work that we're doing is on the website. In fact, I do want to add the Instagram account. I need to update a few things on there. And the meeting agenda, the meeting schedule is all up there on the website. Mm-hmm. Extract from the charter, cross-reference to the charter. So I don't know whether people need something simpler than that, but I did that. Well, in part I did it to support the application for the silver status for sustainable CT, but I also thought it would be useful for people to know what we do, so it is all up there. And now with your Instagram, your Instagram account, then I think we have everything, but so I don't know what else we can do. I just think there's a shortage of volunteers generally. And we still don't have anybody who has stepped up to the plate to be secretary, although Sarah, she can't be here today, she said she'd be interested in learning more, so there's a possibility that Sarah might step up. I think she feels that she's just too new to the commission at the moment to take on the role, but I told her it's just really to take the minutes, and then it would be helpful to have somebody else prepare the agenda and do the other admin, but it's not that much of a time commitment or burden, I don't think. So, shall we just run over the checklist for Adopt a Garden? Mm-hmm. That might be something that we can at least get started on. To everyone here. I thought it was very good, very thorough.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I just sat down and did this because it's really a big project. So yes. I think that we're going to need everyone to chip in some way.
Yeah.
And I tried to divide it into different areas, such as generating and soliciting sponsors, both current and new. First thing, we don't even have a contact list. All we have is when I went to the different locations and noted who was sponsoring it and who was maintaining it. And I did double check with Sue a couple weeks ago. There's no list that exists. I thought that she had a list with names and
That's
what emails. I used as the starting point to drive around. It didn't have emails on it. It just had locations, but it was so outdated. It was from 2011.
Oh, wow.
So I'd say only a third of it was even accurate on that, but there was no phones or emails, and I asked her twice.
Because she must have given me something, because when I wrote those emails, I sent you a sample one 2 years ago. I must have sent about 10 of those out. So I don't know, maybe it just got lost somewhere. Yeah.
Because I said even if it's not electronic, I'm happy to pick up a piece of paper, but she said the only thing she said she had was what Tracy shared with us, that old brochure.
Oh, that's really old.
So that's the first thing, is we just need a current contact list. Then we need a contact list of prospective, high quality, invested in the community, local sponsors, and this could be a Google Share doc that we all could, add to as we think of someone. Like, I believe I think Jackie had suggested, or she had spoken casually, like socially, with David Genovese about his interest, somebody like that.
I think he would be very interested. Yeah. I know when we met with him before the Corbin development and we explained to him about native trees, he had no idea. And he wants to do the right thing, but his contracts were already in place to buy whatever they are, the Bradford pears or whatever else he's putting up there. So I think he would be a good a good person, a really good key starting person
Yeah.
too.
So
in
more
Instagram.
people like him, you know, that
Mhm.
are invested in the community, care about it, that aren't going to perhaps sign up and then kind of disappear or fall off.
Well, especially if they know we're photographing.
Yeah. And then the third point under that section, to come up with a general timeline, deadline, and overall plan to approach the current and prospective sponsors, you know, like for a commitment date, like perhaps by February 15th, so that way by the time spring starts in April, everything's committed and ready to go. So once we have those lists generated, then outlining a letter to give to two people. One, the current sponsors. We could give them a photo of what their garden looks like in case they have no idea. Ask if they want to continue with their sponsorship, give them a deadline for making an ongoing commitment, and give them guidelines and requirements for the program in order to continue. So those garden guidelines need to be documented. Some things I listed were that they should have fun with it, a suggested maintenance plan like weeding and mulching intervals, watering, less annuals, more perennials, so that it is less maintenance. But we do need color. That was kind of an overwhelming thing, that all these gardens were just green.
Yeah.
Well, you get colour from the annuals, but two things that I would really like to see in here is one, an emphasis on native plantings, and also that they shouldn't be using pesticides, so no synthetic chemicals. I mean, that would be our goal for our environmental considerations. But in order to get colour, they need to intersperse with annuals, so that would be an ideal way to do it.
Yes.
And I was just thinking about your timeline, sorry, just going back up there. April 1 is very early for planting because the frost risk is through the end of April, subject to climate change. But so I think in order not to scare people, you could probably push that mid-February date out to at least the end of February. And just so people don't feel jammed over the holidays.
And then we need to create a tangible marketing material. You know, I just mentioned the historic piece, that brochure that Tracy brought once, but something like that we can give them and leave with them, I think, when we visit them in person. Outlining a draft letter to solicit then the prospective sponsors. So giving them the same things, the garden guidelines, the items we just talked about, marketing ideas. We have the Instagram newspaper features, a contest for the best adopt a garden late next spring or summer, where we could publicize the finalists and winners in the Darien Times. And then we ourselves need some sort of internal annual review of status of the gardens, and then communication to the sponsors, and knowing what to do, what we should do if the sponsors aren't fulfilling their commitments. And then lastly, signage. Once the current sponsors have gotten back to us by whatever deadline we decide if they want to continue or not, we need to go pull their signage if they're not going to sponsor it anymore. And then we had also discussed coming up with current signage that provides more visibility for the sponsors, such as using a white background, a boulder, it could still be green, but just a boulder typeface. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the list of to-dos.
No, I think that's all great. Now, do you want to set up the Google Share document then and let people know? Mm-hmm. And then you probably want to be master editor so you can see what people add and then just edit it accordingly.
And maybe we can break up all these tasks, like everybody can take, like you said, everybody can take something, like everybody can commit to taking something.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I could, on the shared doc, I could do a page with this in a better format where like a column or whatever to sign, put your name next to something.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because otherwise, people are, they just don't, speaking for myself too, I'll do it or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you sign up, then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do that, and I'll do perhaps a tab with the to-dos and a sign up and maybe a status column for that whoever signs up for it could fill in. Mm-hmm. And then a second tab that has where people can add their ideas of new sponsors.
Did
That's a
you,
great idea.
you
Thank
did visit some of the existing sponsors, didn't you, in the summer with Amanda?
No, I didn't even drive around till late August,
Oh.
mid-August.
Okay, so you haven't made contact with anyone?
No,
Okay.
because we don't even have a contact list. And that's the thing, I know we meet once a month. So, next month it'll be December, so to get this going where people
Yeah.
could, on the side, be.
Oh, but it can be
Right.
ongoing, it's not dependent on our meetings, I mean, this should be ongoing.
Right, that's what I
Should
just
post.
said.
Yeah.
Creating the Google document,
Yeah.
and people then signing
Yeah.
up can be doing it on their
Yeah.
own.
Right. And then the next meeting, then we can say, okay,
Right.
we've got this much
Great
done.
The updates, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for organizing that.
Sure.
Oh, that's great. And what we should make sure is that people who aren't here are aware of this. So I don't know if people invest that much time in the minutes, but I'll send them around and then I'll make a note to emphasize that people should be looking out for your document.
And they should watch the video. We can
Yes.
say, if you're not there,
Oh, that's a good
watch the
idea.
video, please.
Easier almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you send the link around, just include some instructions about what we discussed, because it'll reinforce it. All right. Okay. Sorry, I've lost my document now. All right, so that is good. And our next item. Oh yeah, this is you again, Alicia. I think at the Noroton Heights Shopping Centre appearance.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably hard to talk about without the whole group, but I don't really have anything to add outside of my email. I just was thinking,
Have you spoken to the building department?
I don't know. I didn't know that name you listed. I didn't know who is that person.
I can't remember the name I gave you now. But if you just walk up to the building department, anybody up there will give you an idea probably about what's going on. I think it would be considerate to do that. Yes, we have a mandate to improve aesthetics around town, but when you drill into the charter, I sent you those provisions. When I read that, it looks very much to me that we are looking at the way owners and tenants maintain their building once they're installed in the building. I don't know to what extent we have any kind of remit for the construction process and keeping a construction site tidy. Having said that, it all comes down to aesthetics, but I remember when the Public Works Department was working with the contractor on the stairs at Habitat Hill, we had just horrific devastation of our garden. I mean, it's way beyond anything that we could imagine, and we still have a situation there where the plants aren't growing because the soil is so disrupted. And when I talked to Public Works about that, they said, this is a pretty tense situation, don't do anything, don't say anything, because they had so much aggravation from their contractor that Public Works had held back some money, and so they had a situation where the contractor was financially motivated to come back, but they'd left this enormous digger on the slopes, basically, with the mouth just eating up plants. And they felt that it would be detrimental if we were to go and start to get ourselves involved. So just caution about that, which is why I think it's important, and it does say in our charter that we should coordinate with other departments, and the building department seems to me the logical one here, before we do anything. And once you have that information, it could be a situation where they're frustrated and they might need more voices, and then we could support them in whatever they're doing. But I think to go out cold, sending a letter where we're not aware of what the factual circumstances are wouldn't be appropriate.
Well, and also planning and zoning, they'll have information on what the status is in Noroton Heights.
Well, it's a combination. I would start with the
Yeah.
building department. They
Yeah.
may move you to somewhere else, and they may
Yes.
move you to P&Z.
Right.
But the building department is the one that would be doing
Right.
its regular inspections of the process, and if something's gone awry, it would be good to know about that. And as I say, they may welcome the support from our group, or they may say it's under control. Yes, this is a massive problem, but this is what we're doing about it.
Right.
And maybe it wouldn't help if we start getting involved. But
Yeah, to me, I mean, I live near there and where my kids are at school, I think I may have mentioned in my email, I drive by there dozens of times a day. It's disgusting, for lack of a better word. And it disheartens me, like with the effort put into the small garden at the station. Yes, I think that brings commuters a moment of joy, but then you pull out and it's awful.
yes, well, presumably it's temporary, unless
Well,
you
it's
hear
been
that they've run out
3
of money
years.
and they're not going to complete it.
Well, and that's the
another big
status
issue.
they're in now, where there was an approved plan, and then, I don't remember the details offhand of what happened, but now they're kind of back to square one. I think it was related to traffic control and putting a daycare in there, so it's now been 3 years of this, and, and this is outside of beautification, but it also seems dangerous to me. It's a large abandoned building sitting there in our town. And again, for the effort we put into things, it just seems almost counterintuitive. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
And so anyways, when I saw that about our charter, I know now the commission has become more garden and botany focused, but it just seems... I'm not looking to stir anything up, I don't have time to, but I don't, it's very odd to me with, how particular the town is and how much they care, that this is almost just, it's like nobody cares anymore, like we're all just gotten used to it.
I'm not sure well, I think you'll be able to find out whether they care or not by talking to the building department, and you can always register a complaint as a private individual anyway, or, a community group. There's nothing to stop that. But it's not so much that we're garden focused, but when I was appointed as chair to this commission, I made it a condition of my appointment that I could have an environmental focus, and that was approved by the Board of Selectmen. And so it's less, to the extent that we are doing gardens, I'm emphasising an environmental focus, so that's a lack of pesticides, and it's an emphasis on native plantings that are going to improve our biodiversity, improve our air quality, improve our soil, improve our soil erosion problems, and our water quality. So that's more the focus. If it's appropriate within the scope of our charter to be involved in assisting the situation, that's fine, but we can't do it just without understanding the full context.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to do that. That's why I emailed our group. I would never
take
the next step without the support of putting our name on it.
Yeah, and that's fine. But you also see in the charter that we are to work with the other, relevant departments in town. We can't be a silo, and we can't work without information. So once you have all that, then I think we can, we'll be armed with what we need and be able to make a decision about whether we can put the Commission's name in a communication to see if we can make a difference, get the thing moving. It sounds beyond something that we can do if it's, if there's financial problems, but, the squeaky wheel.
Yeah, I'm just looking to speak up, and I think it's the least beautiful thing in our town, and it's so glaringly different from the rest of the landscape of the town.
I agree. When you get off of the train, you can hear the town is so beautiful. We're so fortunate to live here, and we do have this big abandoned building.
It is a big contrast to the Corbin development, which is going at lightning speed. It's
well,
much
even
smaller.
Darien Commons, a couple blocks down, people are living there now.
Yes.
Those all started around the same time, and again, this had some bad luck with financing and approval plans, but I just think if it's been 3 years and it's looking like that, I think it's at least good for us to have the conversation, because I think it does touch on, I understand if it's not our focus currently, but I don't know, to me it's a huge eyesore.
I'm not saying it's not our focus currently, I'm saying it can be, but we have to have the information to know what our appropriate role is. And it's on the agenda. I'm happy to pursue it, but we need more information before we can just launch a missive over there.
Yeah, and it would not be a missive. I just more wanted to get everybody else's, like, see if I was the only one, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so that's, no, I think we're all in agreement. It sounds like it could do with a huge cleanup, but we just have to go back in the right way. Next cleanup, oh gosh, there's only 4 of us here. I'm going to have to work on Habitat Hill because I think even though ideally we'd keep those plants very high, keep all the seed heads on because the birds are going crazy in there, they're just so happy. But it's a little bit wild for a public planting, so I'll start to cut them down a little bit. And I'll probably work on Friday, so if anybody wants to join me.
I can't join you this Friday, then I'm happy to go over there if you, I'm working Friday at the hospital, but I'm happy to join you another day.
Well, that would be fine, or just if anybody just wants to go, and because I'm not going to be able to get it all done on my own, if anybody just wants to go and cut some things down. There's some lovely new growth of the echinacea, and the other thing I was going to do is ask Public Works to put some mulch on that really bald patch on the left of the stairs when you walk up. That's where that digger sat for 3 months, so I don't know whether it's just poisoned the ground, but nothing's growing there.
What time are you going to go? Because I can go either very early or I can go like after 12:30 on Fridays.
I think I'd rather go early.
Okay.
I'll send a note out to everybody
Okay.
and just to let them know. I know I have something on Friday and I can't remember what it is and I can't remember what time, so I better check that first.
I have one of my kids is a preschooler and he doesn't go on Fridays, so I'm out for any Fridays, just FYI.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. Okay, so our Instagram account. I see you've been busy.
Yeah, we have about 40 followers now, and some are some nice partners in town, both civic or, you know, places like the Darien Nature Center, other businesses. So that's going good. I think I emailed everybody the account name maybe a month ago, but just if you suggest it to your friends, you know, I think that's a good way to get the word out, not only about us, but with our open position as well. Because even some friends I've shared it with in the past couple weeks have, you know, been like, oh, I didn't know you guys did this, or...
I don't think anybody looks at the website.
Yeah, so it's been a positive response. I think over time, like how long did it take you to get the pollinator pathway to the size it is?
I'm trying to think when we started that, about 3 years ago,
Okay.
probably. It takes a while. I mean, you need to, one thing I did was follow like-minded people, so and there it's very broad because you follow tree people, native plant people, nurseries, and then they start following back. And the hashtags are important too, so people follow hashtags and then they'll see you. But many of the departments in our town have Instagram accounts, so the building department and planning and not planning and
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, that's the one I'm looking for. Yeah. And so I think that's really good when they follow, because you can see what everybody's doing. And yesterday I got a terrible photograph, but I'll try and send some better ones. The garden club came and planted some bulbs, daffodils under the birches just here. So we took some photos. I took one and it's absolutely awful. Everyone's looking the wrong way, and I had my son's puppy and it was just chaos. But I'll get some good ones and then I'll send them to you.
You still have the puppy.
Well, I do have the puppy. No, I don't have it today, but
They'll be beautiful in the spring, right? The daffodils.
Yeah.
they'll be lovely. Yes,
They will.
especially these the new ones going in. Also, I have some pictures. I didn't post them on the Darien Pollinator Pathway Instagram account, but there's some good pictures of the slopes just as they've been turning colour. But I think I might have sent you a picture of the winterberry with the red berries.
There was a close-up shot of something.
The winterberry with the red berries.
That was beautiful.
So it was really pretty. And then the finches, the yellow finches, so amazing. Just And maybe we could take one of the bird houses that we put on the walls. That might be good. I would love to see them used. On the topic of town hall, one of the things that we had talked about in one of the earlier meetings was working on the planters. You know, during the summer we put the extra petunias in there, but we had thought maybe we could jazz them up after Thanksgiving with some evergreens. And at the weekend I was able to get a whole ton of red twig dogwood. So lovely, you know, red sticks. And we may have some more at the burn because we planted quite a lot down there. And I was thinking if we could all just collect as much as we can, that might be good. We could just sort of pool our resources and maybe have one day after Thanksgiving where we try and make the planters look good. I'm thinking if we, well, there's dirt in the planters right now because we have the ilex there, so we'll have to decide whether we leave the ilex in and plant those somewhere else.
Are there 2 planters just on either side of the door? Is
No, they're all over. So there's about, I think, 5 or 6.
Oh,
There's
at the different entries.
Yes,
okay.
yeah. I mean, it's going to take a lot of material. But I thought if we all start collecting, I mean, at a push we could buy, but let's talk about our budget in a minute because it's a little bit sorry. Anyway, so just bear that in mind. If you have, also, the other thing that's great for those is those big hydrangea heads. You know the trees that have the sort of those long flowers. They dry beautifully. They might look really good. But I think we'd have to cut very long stems so that we can make big arrangements. Those planters are big, so the scale's going to have to be pretty large. And I mean, things will dry out. We have to figure out a way to water them. That's why I'm not sure whether leaving the ilex in is a good idea. Maybe the best idea because then we have the soil and we can keep watering the soil. But we have to think about it, whether we just do it and know that they're only going to last a couple of weeks. All right, item 8 on the agenda, Police Department Gardens. This is a quick one because there doesn't seem to be any need anymore. They have gravelled over all of the beds. I think somebody said they'd seen that anyway. I went over there. And sure enough, they've got these very large gravel pieces on the beds. So I think that one we can take off our list. Now I put this number 9, Homegrown National Park registration. This is an initiative by Doug Calamy, the famous ethnobotanist, to document native plantings all over the country. And he does very informative videos, and we had him come speak at the Darien Library a few years ago. Very engaging speaker who is passionate about helping to restore our biodiversity through native plantings and not using chemicals. And he's created this Homegrown National Park in an effort to try to create habitat all over the country in private residences, municipalities, wherever, as if we're, you know, it is a homegrown, it's like one big national park through everybody's gardens and city plantings. So I went online and I put our slopes onto the map, but I was a little disappointed because the map was basically just a zip code, so you couldn't pinpoint where the plantings were, and really not very precise at all. So you just had to put the square footage, and there wasn't even a place to write a list, or at least I couldn't find it, to write a list of the actual plantings. But just a few days ago, they must be working on this continuously, they've updated the map to now where you can actually pin and locate the gardens.
Ooh.
So I'm going to go back onto the website and try and put those on. And as it gets more, as the map gets more precise, we can put on, you know, more of our plantings and veteran circle. I'll see how precise it is. I don't know whether it's a kind of a block area, but it does look like they now enable you to be more specific. And it'd be really good if we can write what plantings we're putting in too and post photographs. But this is very much in the making, but I thought it would be very good just to have us registered there. Bless you.
Oh, thank you.
When I update the website, I'll make a note that we've done this too. Okay, well, budget. It's a shame we haven't got our treasurer here, Tracy, but the one thing I wanted to talk about was we have just over 19,000 in our operating account at the moment, and I had sent around a paper that talks about how we could spend the balance of our funds for the rest of the year. And if you look at that, you'll see that the hanging baskets net out. So that's after we get payment for baskets at 12,500. So this is actually going to leave us with less than 7,000 for the rest of the year for absolutely everything. And I think part of the reason for that lower number is because of the work we did in the planters at Town Hall here with the hydrangea and the rhododendron, which I do think is money well spent because it looks so much tidier and better than it did when we had the vinca in there. And so what I had said at the last meeting that I would circulate a draft of our operating budget request, but I didn't do that because I wanted you to see this piece of paper that has amounts allocated to different potential items that we could work on. And because it so far exceeds the 7,000 we have left in our budget, I thought we should talk about how to prioritize because we have very little wiggle room, basically. So one question is, what do people think about are the most important things to spend on? And Alicia, I'm looking at the Adopt a Garden account, and we have some money in there that we can spend on signage, although it would be better if the sponsors were able to pay for their own. But I think traditionally we've paid, and I think it's a nice give to the sponsors if they're going to commit. And it's especially if we can say, oh, look, we've got these new designs, and you're going to get much better marketing, and we'll pay for that. But the quid pro quo is that you really must maintain your gardens. And I think that this number should allow us to pay for a fair amount of those. But if we feel that's not enough, we can allocate some of this 7,000. But also bear in mind that we could, when we request our new budget, that might be an item that we want to think about too for a line item in our new budget request. So first question then, how do we prioritize the money that we have left? I had, on my list here, I had put the largest amount of money at the berm, but I spoke briefly with Tracy about that. Now, I don't think that that's necessarily the best use of our funds if the berm is going to get messed up by the DOT work on the platform. So I think that we might want to think about, you know, some of these other items or other items that you guys can think of. And we don't, well, the only thing we have to do out of this list is the organic grass treatment because we signed up to that. So we've got, I budgeted 1,500 there.
Where is that grass?
That is next to the slopes, and it's the grass on the Veterans Circle too.
Okay.
And Public Works has allowed us to do, I think this is our second year, and I think they gave us 2 years. And they said first sign of a grub, and they don't want us to do the organic treatment anymore, and they want to go back to their chemicals. So I'm hoping, I think it doesn't look worse than it did before. It's not fantastic, but I think that the soil is really rubbish. So I know we have to do that. We should keep 1,500 for that. But beyond that, I don't know what you'll feel about the rest of the items, or if you have other ideas. And this is a difficult conversation without having the rest of our commission here.
My feeling would be things that have high visibility to
Yes.
everyone in town. Like the hanging baskets, I think the planters at Town Hall.
Well, the hanging baskets is done, that's why we only have 7,000 left.
I'm just going through your list,
Yeah.
projections for fiscal year. Should I be looking at something else?
No, that's it, but the hanging baskets is a given, so that's why we only have the 7 left. We have 19, just over 19 right now. And once you take off the hanging basket number, that leaves us around 7, just under 7. So really looking to try and allocate that 7 among the things other than the hanging baskets. And so going down that list, I'm not sure the berm is a priority because of the DOT work.
Right, so
I
let's
I
cross
worry
that
about
off.
spending
I agree.
money there, let's
Yeah,
get
I
right.
agree.
Well, and
And-
also for visibility, like aside from when I went there to weed, I've never driven by the berm ever. I know a lot of people do because they live by it.
Well, they commute from there too.
Yeah, my suggestion would just be overall prioritizing things that have high visibility to everyone in town and, you know, for instance, if we had done the police department planters, I think, or gardens, I think that would have been wonderful because it's our police
Yeah.
department, but that's so low visibility to
Yeah.
the community.
So, well, I've only put 500 for the planters at Town Hall anyway. But that could give us some funds if we, if we find that we don't have enough kind of homegrown
Yeah.
vegetation to put in there for the winter.
And what about, the signage for the Adopt-A Gardens? They're pretty expensive. What if we, all the voting signs that are all over the place?
Oh, the lawn sign?
The lawn signs,
Yeah.
yeah. What if like the first year we said to them, okay, the first year we'll have like kind of a cheap sign, like a voting sign, which would be a lot less expensive. And then if you commit for the second year and we feel like they're really good and reliable, then we put in a more expensive sign. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know anything about like the printing process of those voting
The
signs.
signs aren't, they're about 150.
Oh, they're
The green
not
ones,
that.
yes.
But
I mean,
if there are
I-
a lot of Adopt-A Gardens, that
Well,
would
we've
be-
got about 15,
Yeah.
so what is that?
That would use up our
Yeah.
money in the account, but we can use some of the line account too. So we,
Yeah.
I think, I feel like maybe we should just see how committed they really are to it. Although I can't imagine somebody would say, I'm going to commit to this and not, because.
Well, and if we have a follow-up process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Once
Like,
they see
we're
a structure,
following
they'll
up,
be-
like,
Yeah, like I'm happy
Sure.
going forward, seasonally or quarterly to email them and
I
with
can help you with that.
friendly
Yeah, yeah, me too.
reminders of, you
Yes.
I'm
know,
happy to help you with all that.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it'll
It's
have more
responsibility.
oversight, hopefully.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a way that we can have a generic sign and then just paint in the name and then.
Yeah, something like that.
So we don't have to keep buying a new sign,
Right.
because it's waste anyway, and then just change the name if we have to, but at least we have a supply of signs. Particularly, I'm still very upset about losing the sign at Norton Heights. I mean, that just disappeared. And that was, that has to be
Yeah.
vandalism, because it
It's a
was
shame.
really secure.
Like that they just took it for kicks.
I
Yeah.
think so, because if it had been the MTA, I think they would have told Jim Cameron, because they know him, they know his commuter group. And it was hard to remove.
Yeah. Like to just take it.
Are they like pounded into the
Yes,
ground?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
strange. I
Not with
also
cement.
occasionally notice street signs near me get taken.
Yes.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we? And you can give me other ideas than what's on this list. Or do you want? The other thing I could do is just send around a revised suggestion that adds up to around 7, and do it in a priority,
Yeah.
so that if we run out of money, we run out before we get to the lowest priority. And that might be easiest, because without the others, it's hard to get a full sense of what everybody wants. So I'll do that, and then
Well, you make a great point with the signs, like maybe the commitment should be like 2 years. It should certainly be longer
Yeah.
than a year, something
Yes.
that makes it
Right.
worthwhile.
Yeah. Because that does eat up a lot of money.
It does.
Yeah. Yes, we can't be just buying them every year.
Right.
Well, and clearly we haven't been because we've got the names sitting there in gardens that aren't being maintained.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't, with that in mind, I'll maybe allocate a little bit of money to that project too from our line account. And
Julia, do you know if, you know the stakes that hold the actual like placard that says the sponsor
Mhm.
name? Can those stakes stay? Like, does signs
they're attached when it, or at least the ones we've ordered, that it
like
comes as one piece.
bolted or
Yeah.
okay?
You actually,
I'm wondering if you
unbolt
could just
it.
switch out. I was sitting in
Oh.
an intersection next to one, and it appeared that perhaps it could just
I
that
think
part
there's a
could
bolt.
be switched out.
Yes, you could do
Oh.
that.
Because there's nothing wrong with that green
That's so
stake.
smart.
No,
I mean, a lot of them are crooked, but in general, I don't know that we need to, unless, I don't know, who would go and you know, it's gonna be hard for us to like stand in an intersection doing it. I don't know.
Are you suggesting that to save money?
Yeah,
I don't know how they allocate the
Oh.
cost between the post and the
right.
board, but I'm sure it just is thrown in there and it's just one lump. But maybe they have
Yeah.
a pricing.
Okay.
So then the next question is, so having seen how quickly we will have run through $31,500 this year, what do people think would be a good budget request for next year? I usually ask for the moon.
Yeah.
I ask for a lot because we could potentially do so much. And this year was much better than last year. We only had around 20,000, and it was really, really tight, very, very difficult. So this year we've been able to do more.
What
And,
did we receive for 2022?
sorry?
What did we receive for 2022? What was the amount
Well,
the town?
our fiscal year, runs from end
Yeah.
of June. So
Right, but until June of,
next year
Yeah.
it's 31,500.
okay.
I
But
think
the
we
year
should
before, we'd only received 20. Traditionally, we've had in the high 30s. I would like to ask for something like that. But I have to do a breakdown of how we're going to spend that money. So I'll do that, and I will base it off of what we have, or what I suggest are our priorities for spending the balance of this year's money.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll add additional items as well.
Yeah, we can put signs in
Yeah.
there.
Because we've had really big one-off expenses like the slopes and
Mhm.
like the planters at Town Hall, and I'm happy with those. I think that's money well spent. We get good feedback for all of that. And
Maybe we should ask for like 40,000.
yeah.
Come on, right? 40K.
Yeah, and also if I formulate it so that we know there are things that we, aren't make or break,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I've usually done it.
Okay.
Okay, well
I
I'll,
believe someone mentioned too, I got a letter in the mail, but something about water prices next year, could be useful to
Good point.
yes, yeah.
give that a healthy number.
Yes, that's a great point.
Well, yes, I'm sure that's going to be reflected in elders' bills.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Well, so I'll do that. Well, we haven't been able to vote on anything, but with good discussion and good. Can't even vote to close the meeting. Which is
Right.
yes.
I have to run to a doctor's
All
appointment.
right. Well, that's it then.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
thought that was
Yeah, we got a lot done.
Yes, we did, and thank you, Alicia, for all that.
Yeah,
hard
Alicia,
work.
thank you.
Sure.
I will put something together. I'll send to everybody for proposed spend for the rest of the year.
Julia, this is small for the budget, but on the Instagram, there is an option, I'm sure you guys have seen on many pages, like link in bio, where you can click on it. So normally you can just have one website link, so I have our webpage on Town Hall, but then
Yeah.
that doesn't give me the ability to put up like that news feature or other
Oh,
things,
right,
or
right. You have
links
to
to
have-
other partner pages, so I don't know how much it is. And I have no clue, I'm not even gonna guess, probably very nominal, like maybe $30, but like,
A year?
yes, I'm guessing, but
I think that's, I mean, for me, that would be,
yeah, because
Fine,
it
it's
allows
just-
you to see more and more, just more content
Yes.
beyond just
Yeah.
photographs.
I know, it's a pain in the neck because I always end up having to, on the Pollination Pathway Instagram account, have to change the bio.
Switch it out,
To put
yeah.
in, you know, whenever there's a vote coming out, I have to change the.
Bye.
Okay,
It's
bye.
like, bye, good luck.
All right,
Bye.
thank you.
Well, we are officially done, or as unofficially done as,
Okay.
as officially done as we can be.